Hello? Testing, testing. I can't tell if this is working or not. Okay, yeah, it's working. Hi, hello. It's been, I think, 3 years since I last uploaded. So, yeah, it's been just a little while. Not a lot. An idea that I had in my head when I was younger is that animals should have wheels. And on a purely intuitive level, it makes sense for animals to have wheels. Why wouldn't they? Wheels are easily the most efficient way to move things from point A to point B in terms of energy. It's much easier to move things on wheels than without. This is why humans, before we had wheels, we had rollers to move heavy objects. We would roll gigantic stones on logs because it made the work easier for us. There's a reason why pulleys are a thing too. They're basically just wheels with ropes, and they make things extremely efficient. There's a few problems with using wheels. First of all, the superiority that wheels have over other transportation means only applies to flat, even, smooth ground. So in nature, you're not going to have that pretty much never, maybe in a few instances, but for the most part, if you're in nature, you're going to be navigating terrain such as hills. You're going to be stepping on pebbles, plants, grass, dead animals. I don't know. And that puts the wheel already at a massive disadvantage over what we have now, which is legs, or wings if you're a flyer. And the solution to this would be that you would have to build roads for everything. You would need road networks connecting watering holes to each other. You'd need road networks connecting like different patches of grass to each other. And we kind of already have this too with game trails where animals kind of just pad out their own trails. And legs are still pretty damn efficient for walking on flat surfaces, except they're not encumbered by the disadvantages that wheels face on rougher terrain. There's a reason why Boston Dynamics' most advanced terrain navigating robots don't use wheels, they use the legs, because the legs are much more adaptable to terrain than wheels are. What can you really do to change how you move on a wheeled craft? You really can't. Besides, I can go backwards and then forwards. For legs, you can change how big of steps you take. You can change how much force you apply to your legs, where you shift your balance. This versatility does not exist with wheels. And if you're living in an environment where you're going to be pursued by predators, as most animals do, you're going to have a lot of disadvantages if you don't have the versatility that legs offer you. Let's say the animals decide to build the roads that wheels would require to be viable. In order to build roads, you'd have to have dexterity with your limbs. So there's typically two different types of land animals. You have bipeds and quadrupeds. Most animals are quadrupeds, which means they use all four of their legs to walk. Now, the advantages of being a quadruped is that you have all four of your appendages touching the ground, which means more points of contact. And this usually means that you have improved balance, so it's harder to knock you off your feet. You have a much higher running speed than bipeds. And lastly, it provides a lot of movement versatility that doesn't exist with bipeds. Here's the disadvantage. There's very little versatility that being a quadruped offers you. You don't have any appendages to manipulate your environment with, which I think the easiest way to sum up dexterity is the ability to manipulate things around you. Bipeds have a much easier time with this than quadrupeds, which is why humans being able to walk on 2 feet was a huge evolutionary step towards developing into what we are now. Walking on 2 feet allowed us to have 2 extra appendages in which we can manipulate things with. So we ended up cutting down trees, making fires, friction fires. You need your hands for that, undeniably. And it allowed us to make throwing weapons, which no other animal in our environment had a solid fallback onto, that they weren't prepared to face humans with spears, or in most cases, atlatls. So it's harder to build things if you're a quadruped, which most animals are. And another thing is that even if most animals had the dexterity required to build the roads, they don't have the cooperation nor the intelligence to do so. Like you give a monkey like a car, they're not gonna know how to drive the car, even though I think they technically have the physical abilities to. They just don't know how to build things the way humans do. Like, do you think a bear would have the dexterity and intelligence to build a road? I don't think so. Even for humans, it was hard to build shit, even though we had a massive dexterity advantage over other animals. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but pyramids. Don't allow. Yeah, even this shit was hard to build for us. Historians today, I don't think we know how we built these things. And the last issue for why animals can't have wheels, and this is the biggest one, is that building a road for everyone else to use puts you at a disadvantage indirectly. It puts you at an indirect disadvantage. Because now that you contributed to a road that you're now using, well, that means everyone else that could either be your friend or be your mating rival, or worse yet, be your predator, can now use that road to easily pursue you and hunt you down. I guess it's not self-interested enough for animals to do that, especially since most animals are solitary. That I know of. I'm not a zoologist. I have no education. But yeah, it's 4 where I live right now. That's it. See ya.